Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 112. That's right, 112 of the Metal Detecting Show podcast. My name is Kieran, and I have been metal detecting for over 30 years now. This week, I talk about the Manticore, the core. Are you rocking the core? I'm sure you're sick of hearing about that anyways. And I give you some updates of what I've been up to this week. So, let's get on with the show. Hey everyone, before we start, I want to thank you for listening to the podcast and I hope you enjoyed the episode this week. But before we begin, I want to give you the following information. If you want to give me feedback or interact with the show, please reach out to me on Twitter at DetectingThe or Instagram at the Metal Detecting Podcast. Or if you want to pop me an email, you can do so at kieran@themetaldetectingshow.com. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can do so on buymeacoffee.com/metal detecting. And lastly, and most importantly, if you like this content, please don't hesitate to tell your friends and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, it's great to be back podcasting and most importantly, metal detecting. I hope you liked last week's episode with Dilek. It was a pleasure to chat to her and I really enjoyed the experience. As we finished recording, she hinted at a new PI machine coming out at some point in late 2023 or 2024, but couldn't be persuaded to give over a hard and fast date. And if you listen to the episode, you'd know why. So I did get out detecting last week. My normal beach detecting trip paid for my diesel and coffee, which was great, but a thoroughly enjoyable experience. I did find myself gravitating to an area of the beach where I knew there would be some older stuff, not the modern stuff. So I did noodle about there for about an hour or two, hard digging, found a few things, but nothing major. But it was great and thoroughly enjoyable. Obviously, I was using the Nox at the time, so, that always performs well on the beach. I also went full board this week doing some tractor chasing, looking for permissions with limited success, to be honest. A lot of farmers said they'd come back to me. However, I'm yet to get that call back, which is totally understandable if you've ever listened to my Getting Permissions episode. You should never leave the onus on the landowner to contact you because it's not going to be a high priority for them to come back to you. Also this week, Dilek followed up with a promise to ship me out a Legend. So I received the Legend Sunday evening last week. However, it was sitting on my doorstep for 3 days. This is Ireland and rural Ireland at that. So we don't really have porch pirates here. So my new Legend sat on the doorstep of my house for 3 days before I was home to pick it up because we were off having a camping trip. And during those 3 days, it was the 3 wettest days so far this year. So it was thoroughly soaked. But saying that, it was well wrapped and the damage was only minimum to the packaging and no damage was done to the detector itself or any of the contents really. I did want to do an unboxing video of it. However, all I ended up doing was I did a video of my first impressions. So I assembled it and then did a quick video on my first impressions. It's up on YouTube if you want to check it out. Yeah, I was messing around with the camera and stuff just to try and get a feel for that sort of thing because I do intend to do more videos in the future. And of course, you couldn't swing a cat anywhere in the last 2 weeks, online, even on my LinkedIn profile, without seeing the Manticore, the new release by Minelab. The Manticore, the beast, they're calling it. Now, Addicted to Bleeps on YouTube and Joan Allen got the scoop on it when Minelab showcased it at the Heart of Kent detecting rally 2 weeks ago, I believe it was at this stage. And I've been watching all the reports and reviews in the last 2 weeks. And this week, I'm going to give my impression of what I think is going on, what I think the sensible thing to do is, and we'll get into that right now. So yeah, the Manticore. So from what I can glean, it's 3 years in development out of the Minelab engineering team in Australia with chief engineer Mark Laurie driving the product design and the product team over there. Mark was doing a whistle-stop tour for the last 2 weeks around Europe, really. I'm not sure if he's been to the US yet, but he's definitely been in the UK, Germany, and I even think I've seen a French video on it. And, it's a marketing tour. You go around and you're hawking your products, hawking your wares, and it's a pretty standard thing to do in the industry. So what's the main selling point of the Manticore? Well, they are boasting multi IQ plus. So that's not multi IQ plus something else. It's multi IQ plus an enhanced newer version of multi IQ. When pressed, Mark seems to be saying the biggest feature improvement is more power, up by 50%. And I will talk about that. He does say it will get more depth, it will light up the ground a lot more, and it will be a lot faster. Again, we'll get onto that later on. But also the 2D visualization that was on the CTX. So if you do remember my comeback, my update episode when I came back, I did comment on the fact that Minelab haven't come out with anything, and I would love to see them come out with the love child of the CTX and the Nox. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, almost like I'm a psychic, they release it, the Manticore. Not that I knew anything about it in advance, it was just pure speculation. But yeah, my wish proved to be answered. By no means was I speculating that this is what was going to come out. So yeah, an updated version of the 2D visualization that was in the CTX, a new discrimination engine, which I thought was very interesting. He slipped that into conversation a few times. New audio with more choices for the user to customize and all that. So essentially giving a new user extra nuance in using it. From a physical perspective, it's coming with a new carbon fiber telescopic shaft with beefy cam locks and weighing in less than the Nox at about 1.3 kgs. Interesting point as well is they talked about how the new coils are coming with beefy coil leafs, which, as you know, if you're a Nox owner, there's been issues with the low quality of the Nox coil leaves. Interesting enough, a lot of aftermarket upgrades for the Nox was around the carbon fiber shaft, which is excellent. So it's clear that Minelab have listened and learned from the mistakes of the Nox to produce a more improved, or the next iteration physically on the Nox. I'm not saying technologically, because it does look like an updated version of the Nox physically. What other key features were there? Waterproof down to 5 meters. Again, touting this is a huge improvement on the Nox. And as anybody knows, the Nox had a huge problem with leaking also. So let's hope to fix that as well. And a new arm cuff. Again, all these features that they're pushing out are a direct call out to all the failings of the Nox, if you know what I mean. So yeah, so the Manticore is out. Well, there's no release date as of yet. My expectation is it would be out before Christmas. Prices seem to be around £1,800. If you go to Crawford's MD site in the UK, you can be put on the waiting list for just under $1,800. In the US, they have said, Minelab have stated that it will sell for $1,599 in the US, and I expect it'll be about €1,800 in Europe. So that's the high level. But let's talk about a few things that sort of came to mind. So the multi IQ plus, the next generation in multi IQ. Now, when pressed, Mark was very non-committed on what actual frequencies are being used. He just said it's a wider spectrum. I've noticed he was pressed by a few people on what the actual frequencies are, and he dodged that question very eloquently by just saying it was a wider spectrum, which is fine. For competition reasons, they may not want to come out and say what frequencies is being released just yet. But Minelab have said that multi IQ plus is more about giving the user more data streams and more information to make that call of dig, no dig. I love the fact that Mark Laurie used the same terminology I use, the dig, no dig terminology. So yeah, so to give you more information around whether you should dig or not dig. They have called out that it is a more premium product than the Equinox, so hence that elevated price tag. And one of the key things, and I'm going to get onto it now, is this chat around more power. So 50% more power is what's being touted. Now, if you're like me, straight away I go, what does that mean? Does that mean 50% more battery power? Does it mean 50% more transmitted power or watts at the coil? Does it mean 50% more processing power? Or is it just 50% more information power or more power to the user, 50% more power to the user, which would be a cop out if you ask me if it was that one. So let's go through each of them individually. 50% more power at the processor. What is that going to mean? If that's what we're talking about, maybe that's just a Moore's law thing. The processing power of CPUs and processors supposedly doubles every 18 months. So this may be just a situation that the processor that they have in the Manticore or the core just happens to have 50% more processing power. It's more about the software on top of that, how that software utilizes that power. Are they doing that? We don't know yet. So 50% more processing power, is that a selling point or is that attractive to us? Maybe not. 50% more data, more power to the user, that's a cop out, like I said. But realistically, I think is a 50% more power. If it's 50% more power at the battery, so we don't even know what type of battery it is yet. I presume it'll be a lithium polymer battery. And if it's 50% more power, what does that mean? Does it mean the Manticore is going to run for 5 days as opposed to the 2.5, 3 days you'd get out of the Equinox? Is that attractive to me? No, because I always make sure my detector is fully charged before I leave. I very rarely would I run the gauntlet of going 2 days without charging my detector. Is that an attractive selling point to me? No. And let's get on to the point which I think they're kind of hinting at: 50% more power at the coil. In fact, I've heard Mark saying there's 50% more power at the coil. That tells me is that there's 50% more power being pumped into the coil, being transmitted from the coil into the ground. And what that means to me is that there's potential for more depth. Now, don't get too excited about how much depth, because you've got the inverse square law of power. Doesn't mean you're going to get an extra 5 to 6 inches on it. What it means essentially is you may get an extra inch, inch and a half out of this due to the inverse square law. What it also means is that you're potentially having to process 50% more data coming back off the hotness of the ground. Maybe the 50% improvement is in processing power because they have to, because they're pumping out 50% more wattage into the ground, simply due to the fact that they're getting 50% more hotness, or they're lighting up the ground, as they say. They're lighting up the ground, producing all this noise, and you're going to get more interference at that point. So maybe the improvement has been this fine balancing act on the processing power and the transmitted power of the detector. Is that a selling point to me? Yeah, possibly. But I would not have the expectation that I would be getting an extra 4 or 5 inches out of this machine. Or will I be finding 50% more targets, good targets with this machine? I think there will be a marked improvement, but I don't believe it'll be at a full 50%, simply due to physics, because that would be entirely impossible, really. Minelab have said the ideal user is the Vanquish Equinox user, sort of that mid-tier, sophisticated user. That's their words. Sophisticated user is their words, not my words. So it seems to be an upgrade on the Nox at twice the price, but is it worth that price? Things we don't know yet about the Manticore: what type of battery it is. I just said that. Will it come with Bluetooth or Wi-Fi headphones? That's important. Will it deploy the new aptX low latency Bluetooth 5.0 like Nocta's Legend headphones? Or will they use their own proprietary Minelab Bluetooth, which is a version of the same thing, really? Probably it'll be the latter. It'll be their Minelab's own proprietary Bluetooth connection to the headphones. Let's see. Let's see. So what do I know? All I know is right now, so this is all the features that have been put out, like I've just said. But what I do know is if you're in the market for a Nox or a Vanquish or any other Minelab machine, now is the time to pop on it. Facebook Marketplace, eBay, even the detecting forums is awash now of people trying to sell their Nox with the hope of selling the Nox, get that money, and buy the Manticore when it comes out. Even the metal detecting dealers are all offloading their existing Minelab machines as they try to clear stock in prep for the Manticore to be released. So if you've been waiting for a Nox, or if you've been saving or waiting for the Nox to come down, or looking for a good deal on the Nox, now is the best time to do it. Obviously, after Christmas, there may be another wave in the market as Santa Claus brings people the Manticore and they offload their Noxes and stuff like that. But if you're in the market for a Nox, now is the time to buy it. Should you wait for the Manticore? Listen, it depends on where you're coming from, right? I have the CTX and I have the Equinox, and I'm lucky to have them, bought with my own money. Would I buy the Manticore? I'll wait to see how it performs against the CTX. The CTX is an amazing machine to be able to discriminate against trash, pull tabs, bottle tops. It's great. It's great on the trash side. I love it. I love using the CTX and sites like that. Is the Manticore going to be the best of both worlds and potentially outperform the CTX? If that is the case, I would be looking at the Manticore. However, if the improvement is just in around the physical attributes, such as the carbon fiber shaft, the cam locks, the better quality coil, the better quality cuff, the nice color screen, good battery, and okay, all this 50% power that gives you an extra inch. It's nice to have the newer machine. However, I don't know if the sum of all the differences equates in the difference in value against the Nox, if that makes sense. So for me, I will be hanging tough till Christmas. Unless Minelab want to send me one for free, and I'll quite happily take it out of your hands and do a review, etc. If you're listening, Minelab. Listen, for me, I probably will end up buying it at some stage. But for me, I'm going to use the Legend till it comes out. Try and learn the Legend. I like the feel and the look of the Legend, and I want to compare it to my experience with Equinox and give you guys a full and proper review after about 6 months of using the Legend. When the Manticore comes out, if it comes out in the next 3-4 months, will I be buying it? Probably not. Would I buy it in the new year? Maybe. Is it their new flagship machine? Possibly. And if I'm in the business of metal detecting, I suppose I do need to know about it. I really want to get my hands on the Deus 2 as well to give that a shot. It may come down to a battle between the Deus 2 and the Manticore and how each of those perform over the next coming months. Because sometimes I like to be an early adopter, but it has always paid off for me to hold off a month or two after the release of a detector just to see the real problems that emerge. Once these detectors get into the hands of the old wizened beach detectorists and the hardcore field detectorists that are out doing 30 hours a week, and once they start feeding back their opinions, then you'll know whether it's time to buy it. Don't go on the marketing blurb. Don't go by what I say. I am not an expert here. I'm just giving my opinion, what I'll wait for. I'll wait for public feedback to come back on each of these machines. The Legend, the Deus 2, and the Manticore. I'll wait and see. Now I have the Legend, okay, but between the Deus 2 and the Manticore, it'll be a toss-up on what I'll spend my own money on till I know more. And that's it, guys. That's it for this week. I hope you like this episode of the Metal Detecting Show podcast. Check out the website www.metaldetectingshow.com for this episode's show notes. Check out our Patreon page and our Buy Me a Coffee page at /Metal Detecting. Also, if you feel like taking your appreciation to the next level, feel free to leave me a positive review on any podcast directory of your choice. If you like this content and would like more, please don't hesitate to tell your friends, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will chat to you all again next week. Get out there, eyes down, good luck, and happy hunting. Are you rocking the core?